There's a whole rehabilitation process that you have to go through after being a member of a high control religion. I will be speaking on my experience as an ex-Jehovah's Witness, however, the information that will be found in this video is applicable to other religions as well. Jehovah's Witnesses are extremely exclusive. They can be very cliquey at times, and the entire framework of the religion is built off of an us versus them mindset. They take a colorblind approach to racism, so they preach that they are a very unified brotherhood. However, racism is still rampant within the religion. Then your experience in the religion will be heavily impacted by other things like what class you find yourself in or what gender you are. Because of the headship arrangement and the lack of conversation revolving around racism within the religion, you're essentially socialized to believe things like misogyny and racism are not something that you can confront. Or even worse, that they have been put into place by God himself. So, when you decide that you don't want to be part of this religion anymore, you're now entering this world, but still with the same framework that you have been socialized into. Because of the unified brotherhood teaching, I think a lot of witnesses are left with the impression that any other witness that you come across has to be your friend. I would say because of the unified brotherhood teaching and also just this general elitist attitude that witnesses are taught to have, feeling like we're better than everyone else because we have the truth. Both of those things kind of make it a bit more difficult for people who are leaving the religion to ease into the real world. To be honest, I think the first rude awakening that I had was that not everyone needed to be my friend. It's okay if people don't like me. The second really difficult lesson that I had to learn was taking accountability for the ways that I had hurt people while I was in the religion. To me, and even to them, it was really clear that it was a cult. However, that doesn't erase the damage that you do while participating in harmful behavior. I found myself wanting to hide behind the fact that I was born into this cult. I had no idea that what I was doing was bad. But to be honest, that's not exactly true. I knew when I was shunning my twin sister for years that I was hurting her. And I knew that when I cut off really close friends who had been there for me, who had taken me in when I was unhoused, when witnesses in my own congregation wouldn't do that. When I cut them off, I knew that I was hurting them too. But I had just used spiritual bypassing to tell myself that this is happening for a reason, that they just don't understand Jehovah's rules. So later, when I found myself wanting to apologize, but still being defensive while giving the apology, I had to realize that while it was never my intention to hurt people that I had loved, the impact was that I did. And I needed to sit with that very uncomfortable feeling and just accept it. There was, of course, nothing I can do to go back in time and change the decisions that I made. But now that I had chosen to leave this very high control community, I had the opportunity to do research and educate myself and just want to become a better person. There's an entirely other very complicated conversation about the morality of Jehovah's Witnesses and the decisions that they make. Because the decisions that individual witnesses make to follow the governing body are very harmful. But I think the important part of the conversation lies less in whether or not they're good or bad people and whether or not you want to be a good person after leaving. When talking about racism within the cult, I have also noticed somewhat of a lack of engagement even among exJWs. And honestly, I think it's due to some exJWs not having done that work yet of deconstructing things like racism, classism, and sexism. Especially if you're a white exJW, your experience is so different from a person of color who was born into the religion, or a woman, or a disabled person. I think intersectionality is something that ex-witnesses need to learn about. We have to learn how to take responsibility for the things that we did while acknowledging that we were brainwashed. Like, it's okay to admit that both things are true. Having been in the cult isn't your fault, but it is your individual responsibility to learn how to be a better person.